Welcome back, guys, to the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. Well, last episode, after Barak von Zieks made us state the number of bullets on the scene, the tables turned once again as a guilty verdict was decided upon by the jury, bringing us into another summation examination where we found out more from the elderly surgeon about his mumblings, learning that he was the one that operated on Herlock Sholmes. However, with a bullet not found in our friend's body, we turned to Villain, the ballistics expert, to figure things out, leading us to learn that the bullet had struck Herlock's pouch and never entered him, having plucked it out of the pouch provided to us by Van Zieks, as we now have a third bullet on the scene. Speaking of the third bullet, there's someone who has questions about bullets.
Hold it!
We know exactly to go to her. There's a number of bullets that has you convinced. Only 2 bullets were fired, and the 2 guns that fired them have been examined by the police. When the parlor maid asks me how many are invited for dinner, I always tell her to count the table settings. Well, that's logical, I suppose. Although, yes, sometimes after dining, crockery does go missing. 1 or 2 guests rather like the fine china. Does your employer dine with thieves? So I suppose, if there was another bullet somewhere of which we were unaware, I'd have to reconsider my position. A third bullet somewhere on the scene. Could that be possible? I can prove it now, because we've literally just got it. We can hold it in our hands. Allow me to show you. Then, the third bullet. Here we go.
Take that!
Here it is. We discovered it just now. Yes, on the night in question in Winnebag's pawnbrokery, another bullet was fired.
Hold it!
What is this new trickery, you Nipponese conjurer? Where did you find that bullet? Okay. It was lodged inside Mr. Sholmes' pouch. What? Yeah, you've just realized you haven't even bothered to do the basic investigation? It wasn't hard to find. This pouch was removed from around Mr. Sholmes' waist before he was taken to hospital. And since then, it has been touched by no one. Do you mean to say that Barak von Zieks was derelict in his duty? The shot fired by the Skulking Brothers that night? Yes, as your lordship has surmised, it hit this pouch. But that makes no sense whatsoever. Why did Barak have it not investigate it? Makes no sense that he gave it to me. We already know the whereabouts that the bullet fired at Mr. Sholmes. It's clearly visible in this photographic print. 2 guns from the scene have already been submitted into the court record as evidence. Yes, that of Mr. Winterbank and that belonging to the Skulking Brothers. An examination of both guns revealed that only a single bullet had been fired from each. But that must mean... That's right. We now know that on the night in question, 3 bullets were fired. However, only 2 bullets were fired from the guns recovered from the crime scene. And until that incontrovertible inconsistency is somehow explained, we cannot and must not pass judgment. Order! While this summation examination remains incomplete, the court has been presented with new facts. Facts that would appear to shake the very foundations upon which the case against the defendant has been built. As is my prerogative in this situation, I hereby temporarily suspend the summation examination. By Jupiter! What? Bailiff, bring the witnesses back to the stand at once. Judge has gone rogue. He's going against procedure. I don't even know what the procedure really is in this case. After all, they're probably winging it too, because we brought back an old thing. Witnesses. Governor! Were you listening to proceedings while the defense carried out the summation examination? We was, Governor, we was! Perhaps we can dispense with a tedious preamble. Simply answer this one question. A third bullet has been identified at the scene of the crime. What do you make of that? Make of it, Gov? I don't make nothing of nothing if I can help it. Is it one of yours? Court blimey, Gov, court blimey, not a chance! In that case, did you have an accomplice? What? What? No, never! The Skulking Brothers work alone! It's just the 2 of us, that's our trademark! How soon we forget poor Sulky. Only 2 of the bullets from the crime scene originated from the firearms we have in evidence. The 3rd bullet was fired from another gun. Where is it? Lummy, that's an head scratcher.
Counsel for the defense.
Yes?
I should like to hear your thoughts regarding these new developments. The 3rd bullet, and the mysterious missing firearm from whence it came.
Thinking back over all the testimony we've heard and all the evidence we've seen, I think I'm starting to form a picture of what really happened that night. My lord, I think it's clear what this 3rd bullet tells us about the Skulkin brothers. They had a secret accomplice, looking at their list. Not so secret accomplice though, because they kept going on about a brother. On that night at Windibank's pawnbrokery, the brothers must have been working with a 3rd man. The witnesses are clearly doing their best to cover up the existence of this accomplice. But the evidence all points to the fact that there was someone else present. Someone carrying a gun. I say the evidence definitely points to the fact that there's someone else present. Sure. And that someone carried a gun. Sure. But we only saw 2 figures in the darkness, did we not? Our own eyes say something different.
Objection!
An accomplice, you say? Pig swill. These protracted proceedings have already forced us to endure 2 summation examinations. Yet in all that time, there has been not a murmur of a 3rd man. If this apparently wraith-like being exists, the court must be shown hard evidence. Without it, this fantasy would be crushed. Ah! The prosecution demands answers on 2 counts. Firstly, proof, evidence that this accomplice was ever at the scene of the crime. And secondly, the identity of this spurious character. The Skulkins are lying, I know that. But how can I ascertain the identity of the person they're hiding?
Well, counsel.
I'm supposed to prove the existence of this accomplice and reveal the person's identity even. In response to the prosecution's demands, my lord, the defense is... Personally, I'm ready to present answers. The defense is ready. I believe I can provide all the answers the prosecution demands. So, my Nipponese friend, despite the swimming eyes, you seem to think you have something to say. And this promises to be interesting. I have to push forward now. There's no other option. I need to use every single piece of evidence available to me if it will make a difference.
In that case, counsel, I would ask you to present the evidence without delay. On the night in question, in the moments leading up to the death of the victim, what proof have you that there was a 3rd intruder present at the scene?
Well, at this point in time, it's the incredibly shot and bloody 16 up on the wall, which we now know is the bullet that is the odd one out. So, with that said, we present this, don't we? Because we're looking to get to that person by blood. And seemingly we can't go to people at this moment. Looking at proof, though, deliberately, there's a 3rd intruder present. He left his blood there.
Take that!
The evidence is right here, in this portfolio.
By Jove, that portfolio again, is it?
Do you expect the court to rifle through your papers itself? Be more specific. You claim one of those blood samples proves the presence of this 3rd intruder. Well, which one is it? This one.
Take that!
What am I looking at here? There appears to be some green paint or such like around the bullet hole in the middle of the calendar.
That's a blood stain, my lord.
A blood stain?
Green blood. Curious, even for you. Is the court to understand that the intruder was some unhuman creature? We showed this picture earlier and it was red. For the court. That's weird. It's something developed by Mr. Herlock Sholmes. By the great detective. New invention. Stop. Not yet appeared in stories. Stop. Is this you see? It doesn't have a name yet, though. This fogger sprays a chemical that reacts with the different elements in people's blood to change its color.
Different elements of people's blood.
Yes, everyone's blood is slightly different, you see, because it's made up of different elements. So by seeing what color it changes to, you can tell in a flash whose blood it is. Ooh, that brings a whole extra dimension of looking at blood. Talk of blood in courtroom, stop. Very exciting, stop. As an example, this one shows the blood of the victim, Mr. Windibank.
Ah, a striking blue.
Yes, so you see, the green color of this bloodstain on the calendar shows that somebody else was shot in the main part of the shop.
Now hold fire there, young man. Could be for some unrelated incident, couldn't it?
Apart from the smash. Like, look at it. No, it's not unrelated. The date showing on the calendar is the date on which Mr. Windibank was killed.
By golly!
Therefore, we can assume that whoever was shot on the same day.
Then whose blood is it?
Well, the skulking brothers in the stand don't appear to be suffering from any gunshot injuries. Which means it must be the blood of somebody else. The third intruder, in fact.
Objection!
Whose identity the court is still waiting to hear. You can't delay this any longer, my learned friend. Who is this alleged third intruder?
Someone the court doesn't even know. We don't even really know his real name. Or his age, by the look of it, too. But we know that's his blood.
Take that!
The man's name is Eggert Benedict.
Eggert Benedict? Who on earth are you talking about, counsel?
He paid a visit to Windibank's pawnbrokery on the afternoon before the incident took place, when the accused attempted to deceive the pawnbroker into releasing this article into her possession. That's right. The man identified by the defense, Mr. Eggert Benedict, then attempted to take the article from the defendant by force.
Broker! Yes, sir?
I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you know.
Yes, the article in question belongs to me.
I demand for it to be returned at once. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull?
Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say, any music box discs too.
Inspector Gregson was there at the time and can attest to what happened. In the end, it was the inspector himself who took the disc.
Can you corroborate this account, Inspector? Yes, my lord. That's more or less what happened. And in the interest of being thorough, I asked Windibank for a print showing the fella. Taken from one of his red-handed recorder gubbinses.
Yes, that's him talking to Mr. Windibank that morning.
And you claim this man is the brother's accomplice?
Well, Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin.
Never seen the geezer before in my life! On my life, Gov, on my life! Never seen him! Well, somewhat unsurprisingly, it appears our witnesses disagree with the assertion. I'm sure your lordship recalls my learned Nipponese friend's actual assertion, which was that he could prove the identity of the alleged accomplice.
Yes, and I can.
Then show us the evidence!
I agree. We must see proof that the clean-cut gentleman in the photograph is the filthy criminal you say he is. This is the last piece of evidence. I've had a feeling that something has been missing in this trial from the very start. But now, I'm going to drag it kicking and screaming into the courtroom.
Are you ready to present your answers at the court then, counsel?
Yes, my lord. The defense will present the evidence now. Proof that the man pictured in this photographic print was in fact the person struck by the third bullet. So I guess I'm going straight back in again. Yes?
Take that!
That proof is right here, in this portfolio.
Good gracious, Counsel! That portfolio contained the answers to every question posed.
Kind of at the moment, yes. I was wondering if I could do the music disc itself, though. I see you share my interest in claret-colored liquids, my Nipponese friend, but... Enough. The court demands to see further evidence. Which blood sample proves the man you identified was the one shot by the third bullet at the scene of the crime? I was about to say, the newest one we've got.
Take that!
As I mentioned before, on the afternoon of the day in question, the defendant attempted, deceitfully admittedly, to reclaim this disc from Windibanks.
Which is when the aforementioned Eggert Benedict appeared on the scene, I believe. This man then attempted to purloin the article from the defendant's possessions, no?
That's correct, my lord. I myself was present at the time. It was following this that a minor incident occurred.
But of course, sir. Here is the disc for you.
Very well. Then I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine.
Ah! What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal!
Being a music box disc, it has countless small but sharp metal protrusions over its surface. Those protrusions cause Mr. Benedict's finger to bleed. And the resulting smear of blood is still visible on the disc now.
Goodness! A blood stain, is it?
My assistant and I have just analysed the bloodstain here in this very courtroom. Using my trusty Fogger gun. Yes, and we added the results to this portfolio. I say, its green. It's exactly the same colour as the blood around the calendar. The evidence is conclusive. The man calling himself Mr. Eggert Benedict, who was in Windibanks earlier in the day, is the accomplice who was present at the scene of the crime that same night. So there was someone else. Look at those two brothers now, they're sweating buckets. Oi, who are you talking about? It's boiling in here. My lord, it is the opinion of the defense that Mr. Eggert Benedict should be summoned to the courtroom to testify.
It would certainly seem that we can ill afford to ignore this gentleman's apparent presence.
Objection!
This has gone on long enough now. This flagrant ignorance of the mechanics of law. Sherlock Sholmes, you say? Yes, I've heard the name. The protagonist in a series of short stories for the vulgar classes. A god of detection or some such. And now you employ chemical substances devised by this fantastical persona in the highest court in the land? Do you expect us to take you seriously? The samples made by this plaything are not fit to be called evidence. So the bloodstain turned a shade of green. What of it? Here's to you successfully proving that no other blood in the world would turn the same color. Well... And pray, do not even think of suggesting that we should take Mr. Sholmes' word for it. Is he right? Is Mr. Sholmes' concoction a load of rubbish? I don't know, I mean, he is a great detective. What are you talking about? We can't let him get away with that. I knew it would come to this. Of course Mr. Sholmes' invention isn't going to be recognized by any official body. But what other choice did I have? I'm just remembering what Father Christmas over there said before. About how he was temporarily suspending the summation examination. In other words, the examination isn't over yet, is it?
Good grief! What did you just say, young girl?
And in a summation examination, the decision as to whether or not the trial continues is in the hands of the 6 jurors, isn't it? So the way I see it, it doesn't matter what certain other people think of Hurley's invention. At least, not for now. Yes, she's right.
Young lady, you have quite the devious mind.
It really just comes down to one thing. Whether these ladies and gentlemen of the jury are convinced by what you say, Runo. Is that about right, would you say? Or did I misunderstand something? Unbelievable. Mr. Sholmes' partner is a force to be reckoned with. Iris Wilson, sharpshooter.
After that shrewd presses of the situation from an entirely unexpected source, it must be acknowledged that the previous summation examination has yet to reach its conclusion.
This is absurd.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court now looks to you for your final leanings in this matter. As proud citizens of Her Majesty's Britain, I'm sure you will come to fair and just conclusions. So then, state your final decisions in turn, please.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Guilty.
Guilty!
Not guilty.
Wow, that was, closer than expected.
2 called guilty and 4 called not guilty. And such is the outcome of the summation examination.
Objection!
My lord, with all due respect, this is an outrage. The prosecution refuses to accept this decision.
On what grounds?
If these jurors are persuaded by some half-baked concoction devised by a pretender to real police work, then they are too ignorant to be trusted with the judgment of anyone's guilt.
I'm sorry, Lord Van Zieks, but the outcome of the summation examination cannot be ignored. This trial will continue.
Ah! Ah!
And nevertheless, we find ourselves in a rather awkward situation. The defense has very reasonably requested the subpoena of a new witness. But sadly, I fear that will be impossible.
What?
The name the gentleman gave for himself, Egbert Benedict, is quite clearly false.
I don't believe it. Just when I'd managed to prove the man was there that night. Gregson? Could I say something?
Who was that, please? Who spoke? Who was that indeed?
Was it Gregson? It wasn't. It was me, my lord. Juror number 5.
What have you to say, madame?
If possible, Inspector.
Me, ma'am?
I wonder if you might show the photographic print to me again. The one in which the gentleman is shown.
Ah, right, yes, this one you mean? Of Mr. Benedict?
Yes. There's no doubt in my mind. Juror number 5, you don't mean to say you know this man? Yes, I know him. What?
No. Good gracious! Order! 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 Juror number 5, how on earth?
I am a communications officer. Stop. As we can clearly see, the gentleman in the photograph is... Stop. Also a communications officer. Stop. He works in my office. Stop. A very talented operator, in fact. Stop. He should be in the communication station now. Stop. Tapping away on the telegraph. Stop. This doesn't seem right somehow. I can't put my finger on why, but it doesn't feel right. I suppose we all imagined the accomplice would be some sort of hardened criminal. It's a bit unexpected to find out that he has a respectable job by day, whatever he gets up to at night. Yes, I suppose that's it. I suppose that's why I felt something was wrong.
If the gentleman is at London's communication station, we should be able to subpoena him within the hour. Lord Van Zieks, if you please.
Yes, my lord.
And make the necessary arrangements with all haste.
As your lordship bids.
The court will reset for 1 hour. When the new witness arrives, we shall reconvene to hear the gentleman's testimony. Inspector Gregson. Yes, my lord? I should like to hear from you specifically about events at the pawnbrokery on the day in question. Come to my chambers during the recess. Yes, sir, my lord. Very well. The court is adjourned until 1:40 p.m.
And I guess that means the court is adjourned until tomorrow. Until our next episode. Right, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Of course, we knew it wasn't actually his name. Shom said as much, if I remember correctly. But the crazy thing is, of course, the jurors cannot be not related to the case in some way anymore. He says, or at least someone we know from the past. And juror number 5 literally just works with the guy. This is weird. So what's going on? What is really going on? I guess we'll find out more as we continue on next time in the Great Ace Attorney Adventures. I'll see you guys then for more. Bye-bye.